I was so thoroughly annoyed by this book, by so many things in this book. Oh my god. It was so bad. Hi everybody and welcome back to my booktube channel, Books with Leo, and today I'm here with my November wrap-up video. I'm going to be talking about everything that I've read in November. I know this video is relatively late, but I firstly wanted to upload my Dyeing Hair Purple books I still want to read thing in 2020. Yeah, now this one's here. I hope you don't mind. I've read quite a lot in November again. I feel like I say this at the beginning of every wrap-up, but I just keep like surprising myself. I guess that's it. It's quite a nice mix, I'd say, this month, because I've read some graphic novels, I've read some contemporary, I've read some fantasy, I've listened to some audiobooks. It's loads of different things, and it's different genres as well, so yay, let's dive into it. So the first book that I finished in November was Smooth Criminals 2, which is a graphic novel written by Kiwi Smith. This is a really fun, queer graphic novel about two girls who are sort of on a heist together, and one of them is a time traveller, and that's really all you should know. I don't want to spoil too much about this. I've also talked about this series, this graphic novel series, in one of my other videos, my recent favourites video, so you can always check that one out if you want to hear me talk about this in a bit more depth. But yeah, it's a really fun comic series, and it's just, I don't know, it feels like a classic comic series, but it's so humorous, and I'm really enjoying it. The next book I read is A Girl's Guide to Personal Hygiene, which just sounds like I don't know how to take care of myself, but I promise that's not it. This was written by Tallulah Pomeroy, and the subtitle is True Stories Illustrated. This was such a fun book. I did not expect to go read this, but I came upon it on Scribd. The way I am a walking advertisement for Scribd, it's almost embarrassing. Anyway, I came upon this book, and it's basically, this author made a Facebook group in which she shared all the gross things that girls do, and it's basically just because men a lot of the times get to boast about like picking their nose or having big farts, you know, stuff like that, but when girls do it, it's not considered nice or funny, it's just gross. And she wanted to sort of change that and just let girls, be themselves, you know, and share all the gross things that they do. And of course, this is like one of the minor things within feminism, like it's not that important that girls get to fart out loud, you know, but it is fun to read about all the gross stuff that girls do. And I'll be honest, I recognise myself in some of these things. She started a Facebook group, and all sorts of girls shared their experiences, all sorts of women, and that was like her friend group sharing experiences, and then she illustrated some of those experiences and made them into short like anecdotes, and that became this book. It was really fun. I read it in one night, and it was hilarious, you know. I had a good time, had a big laugh, especially about this one girl who smells her menstrual cup. I was like, God. Especially because this girl had a conversation about it with her friends, like what their periods smelled like. I know this is like, maybe a lot of people are like grossed out right now, but I just thought that was really funny. The next book that I read in November was One Day We'll All Be Dead and None of This Will Matter, so positive, by Sachi Ku, which was basically like a collection of essays all about being an immigrant, but also growing up with strict parents and having an older boyfriend. It talked about many things like feminism, coming of age. It was really lovely. I really enjoyed it. And if you're just in your 20s trying to be an adult and, you know, growing up, discovering life, you'll still identify with this book, because there were a lot of paragraphs in there about her relationship with her parents that I thought were so insightful and super wonderful to read about. And I think she's a very good writer, and I also thought this book was so funny and very humorous, so I really enjoyed this read as well. Ooh, I'm flying through this, but the thing is, a lot of books I read were like relatively short, so, and also I never remember what I read. So best booktuber out there. Let's see, I have my Goodreads in front of me, so if you see me looking down, it's that. Then I read an issue of Giant Days again. Giant Days is one of my favourite comic series. It's about this group of girls that go to uni, that are roommates. They live all sorts of adventures at uni, and I'm currently in volume 21 of Giant Days, so I'm pretty far in, and I'm not really sure what this one is about, but I thought there was like a little mystery involved in it. Let me just read the summary, because I forgot all about it, to be honest. Right, I was actually right. The girls come home in this one, and they discovered that they've been burgled? God, I don't even speak English. Their home has been robbed, and so they go on this sort of discovery to find out what happens. But it's a short read, you know, it's one issue of the graphic novel series. But this is a series I really enjoy. If you've never read it, you should definitely check it out. Then I read The Cartography of a Sudden Death by Charlie Jane Anders. This was in a vlog, so if you haven't seen that vlog yet, I highly urge you to check it out, because in that vlog I talk more in depth about this book. All I remember, it was a short fantasy book. It was really short, and I listened to the audiobook, and it was about this sort of empire and these girls that were servants to a queen, and then she was supposed to be crowned, but then she got killed, and then one of the servants went on this time travel adventure with a mysterious person that showed up there to find out who killed her, or something of that sort. It was really fun. I love Charlie Jane Anders' writing. I think she's so good at making such intricate worlds in such a short book. Like, it's really powerful. I don't know how she does it. Any story with time traveling in it will always entice me in a way, because I think time traveling is so fascinating. I will never not read a time traveling book. So if you guys have any good time travel recs, definitely let me know. But yeah, it was really cool. Then I read 6 Months, 3 Days, also by Charlie Jane Anders. And I enjoyed that one a lot more, to be honest, because this book was very, like, I think the concept was more suited to be such a short book. It was basically about two people who can both predict the future, but the only difference is that the man can only see like the one future set in stone. So he's like, this is the future, this is what it's going to be, I'm certain. And the woman can see all sorts of different futures, like different possibilities laid out for her, and they change depending on the actions of the people around her. And they are basically the only two people in this world who should not date because of like the way they will collide. But of course they decide to start dating and they fall in love. But the thing is, they already both know that it's going to end bad because of their powers. Really good. This book was so good. I think it's one of my new favorites. I think I gave it 4 stars or something. The concept is wonderful. It's like very Black Mirror-esque, but it reads as if it's like a rom-com at the same time. I mean, it was so short but so well developed, and it was so interesting to see how Charlie Jane Anders does that in such a short book, and it works so well. So I was super impressed by this one, and I really enjoyed reading it. Right. The next book that I read is another romance book. I've been reading so much adult romance lately, and honestly, I used to feel like not good about reading romance, but I'm so over it, because we should just all be able to read what we enjoy and not feel bad about it, or not feel like it's not good enough, because it's ridiculous. Like, I used to feel the same about reading a lot of YA, like I should read adult fiction because I'm 22, but like, why? Why can't I just read what I enjoy? You know, it's so ridiculous to pressure yourself into reading certain things. Okay, that was just a little rant. The Right Swipe by Alicia Ray was a book I really enjoyed. I listened to this on audiobook, and it was wonderful. It's basically about two people who are both of a different dating company. The female main character has set up like a feminist sort of Tinder. I need it. And the other character is like the nephew of a woman who was like one of the first pioneers in the dating company industry. So their company is called Matchmaker, and it's much more traditional. And basically the actual owner of Matchmaker has passed away, and the main character, the girl in this book, wants to buy the other company. She wants like a merge, but the aunt that now owns the company after her sister passed away is very reclusive and like eccentric and stuff. She's one of my favourite characters. And so she has to meet with her nephew in order to make, things happen and to get to talk to the aunt. But I said aunt, like I mean aunt, but I mean aunt, like a sister, lady, woman. You get what I mean. Please don't mind my weird accent and my bilingualness. Anyway, right, so she meets the nephew, but she then realises that she's had a one-night stand with him. And he ghosted her after that. And she's like done with love at this point. She's like, you ghosted me and we're not doing this again. But of course, they both have like feelings for each other. And yeah, this is like all you should know going into it. It is really good. It had like a strong feminist thing at the end, and it was really, I loved it. It was really good. I enjoyed it so much. It had me like almost crying, it had me laughing. I was like, I was so attached to the characters. A new favourite. After I finished The Last Swipe, I read More Weird Things Customers Say in Bookstores by Jen Kemple. I've read the first book, Weird Things Customers Say in Bookstores, I think last year, and it was so funny. It's like basically a short book with all sorts of quotes that people have said in bookstores that are slightly ridiculous. And I think especially if you're a reader and you read a lot, you will enjoy this book so much because it's just really funny. And the second book was just as funny, and yeah, I was almost tempted to read it like twice, just because I had so much fun and it's such a fun, quick read, but I didn't. Anyway, really enjoyed this. The next one I finished in November was Crescent City by Sarah J Maas. I've been reading this book for a long time, or at least I feel like I've been reading this book for such a long time, but I actually haven't really, like, it's not that big of a deal. I'm still not sure what I thought about this book, to be honest. Certain parts I really, really enjoyed and I was so into it, and other parts I was just like, oh my god, can it be over yet? And one of my biggest gripes with this book is the way that the female main character is perceived constantly. So it's constantly like, oh, Bryce's ass looks so good. Bryce's voluptuous body and her curves, all the men were drooling at her. Sarah J Maas, we don't need to be remembered every 3 sentences that Bryce is so ultimately fuckable. Like, we know by now. So that was kind of annoying. But what I really enjoyed is the murder mystery aspect of this, because it's basically this world with shapeshifters and werewolves and vampires and elves and fae and mermaids, and it's just, that's really cool. And our main character Bryce is like a party girl. She's going out with her best friend and the pack of wolves, and it's like all good stuff. But then her best friend in the whole world gets murdered, and she gets assigned a few years later to solve the murder together with this angel. And yeah, there's a lot of tension between her and the angel, and yeah, they're also trying to solve this murder amidst like a lot of political chaos and tensions. And I thought it was really good at some points, like I said before, and at other points it just felt like such a cliche and it didn't make a lot of sense to me, like just plot wise. I was just like, this isn't, like, no, just no. So I'm not sure. I think I gave it 3 stars in the end. I did enjoy it, but I am doubting whether Sarah J Maas's writing is actually for me. Like, maybe it's just not my taste. I don't know. Right, then I read Archimancy by G.A. White, which is School of Shadows Part 1. I've been getting so much into middle grade again lately, and I'm really enjoying it. This was basically the book I would have written if it hadn't been written yet, I guess, sort of. Because it's about kids who go to a school full of ghosts, and then they do some ghost hunting, basically. Ghost hunter school. What else would you want? I read Night Books by G.A. White a while ago, and it was one of my favourite books that I read in that month. This one was certainly a new favourite again. Like, it wasn't like a super big favourite, but I did really enjoy it. It's basically just a gang of kids in this old Victorian school hunting ghosts and discovering the world of ghosts and ghost hunting and their special abilities. It had like those fun, warm, nostalgic middle grade vibes, but at the same time it was very spooky and atmospheric. And yeah, it was a really lovely read. Then I read Mooncakes by Suzanne Walker, which is a graphic novel. Oh my god, how had I never heard of this graphic novel before? It's queer, it's got like a mystery involved in it, it's magical, it's full of lovely illustrations, and it somehow reminded me a little bit of Studio Ghibli at some points, because it was like so magical and whimsical and like cozy and cute at the same time. The illustration style is really nice. The colour scheme is so warm. I loved that. Right, so we follow this teen witch called Nova, and she's been raised by her 2 aunts, I think, and they're lesbians, I presume. And her parents have passed away, but they do still visit her as ghosts, but that's kind of difficult for her. And then there are reports in the town that there's a white wolf sort of surrounding the woods, and there's a little mystery. That wolf turns out to be a long-lost family friend of Nova's that she grew up with, and that's sort of where the story starts. I think you should just go into this. Like, with graphic novels, a lot of the times, when I explain too much, I've almost given away the entire plot, you know? But this is, like, a really great read, and especially the illustration style as well. Oh, I loved it. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but this was just really good. Then I read The One by John Mars. It was so bad. I had to do a review for this for my work at the Royal Library of the Netherlands, and because I work as a book reviewer as well for them. And I had to say like positive things about this book. I had to recommend it to people, and like, I would still recommend this book. I think, honestly, genuinely, I would still recommend this book to you if you haven't read a lot of thrillers or murder mysteries, but I was so thoroughly annoyed by this book, by so many things in this book. Oh my god. So basically, it's sort of a crossover between a Black Mirror-esque concept and like a rom-com concept. So it's basically this company, DNA match, who can match people, like find their one true soulmate based on their DNA. And then it follows 5 main characters and the different scenarios they live out based on this DNA match that they have. And I just felt that the writer should have made more choices in telling this story. Like, he shouldn't have gone with all the different possibilities and scenarios. And then also some of the plot twists just felt so generic and so cliche. I saw them coming from like miles and miles away. and also some of the other plot twists that I didn't see coming just didn't make sense to me, and they also sort of ruined the whole story. It was almost like they wrote this whole book and then at the end they said, oh, but it was all a dream. What? Why? That just, oh, that icked me so bad. And then I haven't even started on the cliffhangers. There's a cliffhanger at the end of every chapter. And the chapters are really short, but then there's a cliffhanger at the end of each and every one of them. And it made me feel like I was reading a Wattpad story. Like, there's nothing, okay, I shouldn't say that. There's nothing wrong with Wattpad stories. But it just made, it felt so easy and like cheap. And I just was like, no, why would you do that? But I have to give it to John Mars that I was in, like, I did want to keep reading because of the cliffhangers. So I don't know, I hated it, but it definitely worked. So yeah, it was a journey, this book. It was honestly a journey. And then after I read that one, I read Loveless by Alice Oseman, which is my favourite book that I've read this month. I would give it 11 out of 5 stars if possible. I loved it so much. This is about Georgia, who has never had any romantic feelings for everybody, and as she's going to university, she's sort of expecting herself to fall in love and have like the romantic fairy tale of her dreams and have it all happen for her, and she wants to finally feel normal because she doesn't feel normal because she never had any romantic feelings for anybody. But as she goes to college, she learns new terms such as aromantic and asexual, and she starts to doubt her own identity and her own label. And I'm not asexual, but I still related to a lot of the conversations in this book, and especially the conversations about wanting deep friendships around you. And yeah, this was just about friendship, about love, about discovering yourself. I think the fact that it was set in uni was so nice. You see a lot of high school books in literature, but not a lot of uni ones, so I thought that was really cool. And yeah, it's just a beautiful coming of age story of discovery again by Alice Oseman, and she's so good at that. Like, honestly, I love her writing, and yeah, this was really a favourite. It made me feel so warm. I think I read it in like 2 days. I was so into it, and I didn't want it to end, actually. When it was done, I was sort of sad. I felt like I lost a lot of friends because I couldn't read about them anymore. So that was kind of sad, but I really, really enjoyed this book. Okay, so those were actually all the 13 books that I read in November. Definitely let me know if you've read any of these and what your opinions are. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe and put a thumbs up, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye guys! Woo!